If you want to learn how to make huge, I'm talking massive profits in real estate, watch this video. It's about Sam Zell. He's worth $5 billion, American real estate mogul. He has 3 different divisions of his real estate companies. They're equity residential, equity office, and equity lifestyle. This guy is an absolute genius. I just read an article yesterday saying his investment into mobile home parks in 2009 yielded him a 1,200% profit. A 1,200% profit. That is insane. Most people, if they bought something 10 years ago and it went up 100%, they would consider that hitting the lottery. So 1,200%. And what he's doing, he owns 144,000 mobile home parks throughout the country. Just started 2009. So the market just crashed. And he took a look around. This guy's a really smart guy. Yeah, his backstory, he's from Ann Arbor, Michigan. His family came back from Poland, and he was going to school, and he's like, you know what, I can be a property manager, help somebody manage their apartments and live in one of those units for free and essentially learn the entire business. And that's what he did. He controlled 4,000 apartments, managing 4,000 apartments on a team with an investor in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And by the time he graduated school, he had 100 to 200 apartments fully paid off that he owned. So then what he did was he sold the apartments, he moved to Chicago, and at that point he started realizing, he went to school for law, he realized shortly after that that was not a fit for him. But he knew that real estate was the golden ticket to making tremendous wealth. I would bet the reason he's saying that is because a lot of these apartments he was managing, probably 50 years, 70 years, 100 years old, and realizing that every single month that previous owner was turning a massive profit every month, and that there's no law degree, there's no business degree, there's no school degree that can really substantiate that type of security. So he got into real estate. And equity residential is a massive holder of multifamily apartments in America, like one of the leaders in multifamily. Equity office is also one of the leaders in office space. But mobile home parks are, in my opinion, going to be just an incredible investment for him, even more so than the 1,200% return that he's already seen. And the reason being is that there's 10,000 people every single day that turn 65 years of age. So they're set to retire every day, 10,000 people. And so what happens? They retire thinking that they have so much money, and then a year and a half in, 2 years in, they're like, wait, $10,000 gets me this, $1,000 gets me that. They start realizing that they don't have enough money to retire. They downsize from the house that they have because they can't afford the property tax, they can't afford the health care, the medical deductibles, the cell phone bill, the food, car insurance, the gas, everything. They can't afford it. So they downsize from the house and they're like, where do I go? Maybe a condo, maybe an apartment. They're like, well, the apartments are too much money. Maybe I have a family member I can move in with. And a lot of the times they don't. So then what do they have? It's either living in their car or living in an RV park. So them living in a mobile home park, the investor, they simply just buy the land and increase the rents that they're charging for parking. They don't have to manage anything. All they have is just huge acreage and let people park there and charge them rent. That is just an incredible business model, because land is essentially you can't produce anything more. You can't produce any more land. So they're buying massive portions of land, and as the population increases, the demand increases, and they're just continuing to increase the rents. Plus they have flexibility. I'm sure a lot of these parks, they could do something else with it down the road if that's what they wanted to do. But these are commercial deals, so they're probably putting 25, 30, 35% down or 40% down, buying a lot of these parks from smaller mom and pop owners. So people that probably own 10, 20, 50, 100 parks, he would come in and buy them. That's how they bought 144,000 apartment or mobile home communities inside of 10 years. I mean, that is an incredible amount of acquisitions, and they're just going to continue buying and buying and buying. So one thing that I would highly suggest is read about Sam Zell. He's a really smart guy. I read his book, I'm Too Subtle, or Am I Being Too Subtle? And he gets a lot of ridicule. He gets a lot of ridicule because people don't like the way that he talks, and he'll say whatever the hell he wants to say. He'll piss a lot of people off, and he's not the traditional, billionaire that is just saying cookie cutter answers to questions without trying to offend anyone. He really could not care. Some of the stuff he says is, in my opinion, is pretty funny, and other stuff some people could say is offensive, but regardless, no one can dispute that he's entertaining and he's an absolute genius. In 2007, he bought the LA Times and a few other media conglomerates associated with the LA Times, and he bought the company, and then a year later, the company went bankrupt, or maybe a year and a half later, went bankrupt. They had $7.6 billion in assets and $13 billion in debt. And he had to basically restructure and kind of get through that, but he went through bankruptcy for that division. But see what happens when you're a really, really smart, successful businessman or businesswoman is that if you take a risk on something that doesn't work out, you've sheltered yourself, and that one bad mistake is not going to come crumbling down everything else that you have. So for him, owning that one bad investment, that's not going to affect any of these investments. That's not going to affect anything else he's doing. And so he got through it and he won, and that's what you want to do. When you're starting out in business, you want to start out doing sure things, betting on really, really smart things. Like him betting on shelter, him betting on housing, there's no better investment. I mean, point blank, there's no better investment. You'll never be able to convince a mother or a father that has kids or that needs a place to sleep that they don't need a roof over their head. Everything else, in my opinion, is questionable except for that. So he took a bet, he lost, and he's going to take a bunch more bets, and I guarantee he's more than likely going to win. Like when he first started out in real estate investing, he was under the impression the market was going to change. So he didn't run out starting to buy. He waited 1 year from when everyone else is buying, the market crashed, and he went and gobbled up so much property at such a massive, massive discount. So what also I've learned from him is how to apply patience. And not just him, but if you look at a lot of the really smart investors out there, they're not running out there desperately looking to buy. Either the numbers make sense or they don't make sense. So for him, no one really was talking about mobile home parks, investing in mobile home parks before this. Some people would say, trinkle in a little bit like, yeah, mobile home parks possibly, but no one was going with this type of ferocity, going for it like Sam Zell. Before him, people were talking about storage units. Storage units were the hot thing maybe 5 years ago, 7 years ago. Everybody was talking about storage units. I even had friends investing in them, and I was never really interested. And the reason being is that I just prefer shelter over everything else. I think shelter is going to way outperform any other asset class. There's just no question. We're looking at how rents are rising in expensive cities today. And before, you were lucky to spend 30% of your overall gross monthly income on rent. Now in expensive cities like San Francisco, LA, New York City, you're spending upwards of 54% of gross income on an apartment. So you think about that. That's about 18 days a month that you're working strictly just to keep a roof over your head. So I think he's definitely onto something with these mobile home parks. And with his equity apartments, they're going for Class A, beautiful, beautiful buildings. And they're buying a lot of buildings. They're, I believe, one of the top 10 apartment owners in the country. And as of now, equity mobile home parks, number one owner of mobile home parks in North America. It's just incredible. He started investing and started his equity conglomerate when he was 28 years old. So he was super young. He started with the apartments, managing the apartments when he was probably 20 to 22 years old. And then he started owning and operating on a large scale when he was 28. And that's not even including the 100 to 200 units that he owned when he was probably 23 or 24 years old. Imagine the pricing that they were probably getting back then. Like he was probably paying $10,000 or $5,000 in a unit. Whereas now you'd be lucky if you can get something for $100,000 a unit. He sees the opportunity, he sees the potential, and that All that together is what makes Sam Zell, in my opinion, one of the smartest, most aggressive, and patient billionaires in real estate in North America. And I would probably say he's top 10. He's definitely top 10 in North America. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.